Okay, let's go ahead and let's look at combining like terms. So a few things that we need to know about combining like terms. So one, they have to have the same variable. So when we talk about key terms or combining those terms, first of all, we have to identify what's a term. This would be a term. Why? Because it has a number and a variable. Same thing with this. Or even this. Those are all variables. Remember that when we have one of something, we don't have to put 1x. It's the same thing as x. So that's another important thing to know. Now, let's go ahead, let's look at a few problems combining like terms. Remember that they have to have the same variable or the same exponent. So in this case, I could not combine these two because they have different exponents. Yes, they're the same variable, but since they have different exponents, they're not alike. They're not. Okay? So let's go ahead, let's look at an example. Okay, so let's look at this example. So before we can talk about how to combine like terms, we have to box in or circle or be able to separate what can we combine and what cannot be combined. So the first thing I'm going to do is identify my m's. I know that I have 3m or a negative 3m and I have plus 1m. So those two are alike, so I'm going to circle those because those two can be combined. Notice how I did not circle or box in my numbers. Why? Because they're different. So they would have their own separate box. And I'll just put a triangle around those items. So therefore, my circles would go together and my triangles would go together. Now, when doing this, remember, make sure you remember your integer rules. So same sign we would add, different sign we would subtract. So in this case, let's go ahead. So I have a negative 3m and a positive m. So in this case, it's just like adding. So if I have a negative 3 plus a positive, that means I would have a negative 2m left. And then 5, positive 5, and then I have a negative 8. Are they the same sign or a different sign? They're a different sign, so I would just simply subtract. I would have a negative 3 left over. And therefore, there goes my combined answer or my combined terms. Let's try. Okay, so let's look at our next problem. P plus 11m plus 2p plus 5 take away 10m. So the same thing we did on the last problem where we identified what can be combined and what couldn't. The same thing we're going to do here. So let's just put a circle around what can be combined. So I know I can combine P and 2p, and make sure you include whatever the operation is. So whether it's a positive or a negative, make sure you include that with your term. Then I have a negative 11m, positive 11m and a negative 10m. Notice how that 5 is by itself. So I can go ahead and bring that down. That is done with. I don't have anything to combine with that. And I'm going to just put a little heart around that one. And we can just bring that down. So I know I have something with a positive 5. Now, let's go ahead, let's combine the others. So in this case, P or 1, remember 1 or a single variable is just represents 1. So 1 plus 2p, that gives me 3p plus 11m, take away 10m. So again, remember our signs, they're different signs, so I'm going to subtract, and I have just 1m left over. So 3p plus m plus 5. Let's try one more. Okay, so let's look at our last problem real quick. And again, we're going to practice the same thing that we've been doing. First, we're going to go and identify the letters or the terms that can be combined. And by boxing them in, circling them, drawing a square, drawing a triangle, whatever makes you comfortable. Or even shading them in with a different color. So in this case, I can box in. And again, make sure you box in the operation with it. I'm going to put a triangle around my x squared. And then also I have a negative 8x squared. Okay? I also have two numbers or two constants that I can circle and box in. And then I have 5x. 5x doesn't have a friend, so I can go ahead and bring that straight down. I'm going to put a box around it to let it know that it is separate by itself, and go ahead and bring it straight down. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and combine the ones that are alike. So in this case, 6, positive 6, and I have a negative 10. Are those the same sign or a different sign? Those are a different sign. So I'm going to go 10, take away 6, and I get a negative 4. And then the last thing, I have a negative 8x squared, and I have a x squared. So in this case, a positive x squared and a negative 8x squared. So again, I'm subtracting those two, and I have a negative 7x squared. The biggest thing that I want you to notice how I did not combine my x and my x squared. Why? Because those are two different x's. So again, remember when we combine, they have to have the same variable and the same exponent. In this case, they don't. They have the same variable, but they do not have the same exponent. So I cannot combine those two because those are not like terms. I hope this helps.